While Allied forces celebrated victory overseas, war trudged on in the Pacific, and the Japanese were nowhere near surrendering. In 1944, Allied forces invaded the Marshall Islands, Saipan, Manila, and Bataan, all considered benchmark victories in the Pacific.
Over 100 boats. It was a large flotilla, and we were headed for the Marshall Islands, and it was huge. When we got to Marshall Islands, we went to Anahuac, and we were with carriers, destroyers, battleships. We were in the flotilla.
See, Saipan at that time was the place where they had all B-29s and a big ship, big aircraft that were heading from there toward Japan, you know, and then hitting spots up there. Because Saipan was an island, but it was kind of high, you know, and the planes would take off, and you could see just tons of planes going all the time.
We left Saipan. We passed the island of Rota. Between Saipan and Guam was this island of Rota. We bypassed that, left the Japanese stranded on that one.
All the girls, all the females still wore no tops. All they had was the lava on the skirts.
When we was bombing low, is that I could stick my arms out the back windows if I could, and I could catch the bombs going by.
At that time, it was just there were just tons of ships over there. The water, you could look out in the morning, and that's all you saw in the South China Sea was just every imaginable ship that you could think of was there.
We needed 2 miles to take off. We had 1.5 miles. And what they actually did was raised up over a hump and dove down 1,000 feet. There was a 1,000-foot cliff off the end of the runway. And dive down and then go back up.
The first ship in the convoy got torpedoed. It blew up, lifted the night up like daylight, and it was gone like that. So we had orders to prepare our ships for armor-piercing shells to fight with the submarine. And so I was sitting on my gun, and I looked out. Here comes this wake coming right to where I'm sitting. Torpedo coming right. I was sitting right on top of ammunition magazine in my position. I couldn't talk. I pushed the button down to report it, but I couldn't talk. I was so scared. I mean, I'm going to be all over the Pacific Ocean here in a second, you know. And so the guy on the other side of the gun, he says, "Hey Joe, what's that just went off from under us?" The torpedo went under us. Oh God, I could talk again.
But the Japanese didn't back down.
On the surface engagement we were in the Philippines, Japanese ships were sunk overnight. And in the morning, daylight, there was a lot of Japanese sailors in the water. And our skipper stopped the ship, and we threw lines to them. They wouldn't even take them.
February 19, 1945 marked one of the most intense battles of the Pacific at Iwo Jima. The Japanese set up tunnels, caves, and an intricate defense system on Iwo Jima, making it difficult for Marines to take. But 110,000 Allies invaded the island, occupied by nearly 20,000 Japanese soldiers. American soldiers iconically raised the American flag on Iwo Jima some 5 days after fighting had begun.
The Marines went to Iwo Jima and that, you know, they got in direct contact with the Japanese military, and that was a difference, you know, that you didn't get that in the Navy, but you got their bombs.
I'm looking for Japanese and caves, but I wasn't gonna go and I'm looking for them. I just threw a hand grenade in there because I wasn't to make sure.
Shortly after the Japanese surrendered on Iwo Jima, Allied forces invaded the island of Okinawa, the largest amphibious invasion in the Pacific, with 287,000 Americans invading the island defended by 130,000 Japanese soldiers.
Then we hit Okinawa. And that was a big thing, probably almost as bad as Normandy.
I think they've counted somewhat over 80 kamikaze attacks we were involved in. And they really started in the Philippines, but they really were bad in Okinawa.
But we had the land. We picked up ordnance, tanks, and so on, and troops. We had to land them on the beach under fire.
Fighting lasted until June 22nd on Okinawa, when the Allies declared victory. Around 77,000 Japanese soldiers were killed or committed suicide during the attack, and some 65,000 Allied soldiers were lost. The Imperial Army of Japan had adopted the attitude of fighting to the death rather than surrendering. According to Japanese, a surrender would be dishonorable. Allies weren't sure what would happen in the coming months.